We're about to explore 5 of the most surprising, and at times, shocking places to raise children. Before we dive into this eye-opening list, be sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. You won't want to miss out on more content like this, where we reveal the hidden truths behind cultural norms and practices from around the world. And if you're already thinking of a country that might make the list, leave a comment below to let us know your guess. Our first country on the list is Japan, a nation known for its technological advancements, rich cultural heritage, and high educational standards. But when it comes to raising children, Japan has some practices that might leave parents from other parts of the world feeling a little shocked, particularly when it comes to the country's intense pressure on children and their education. In Japan, education isn't just important, it's everything. From an early age, Japanese children are introduced to a high-pressure academic environment that pushes them to succeed. School days are long, often extending well into the evening, with extra tutoring sessions known as juku, or cram schools. These sessions focus on preparing students for Japan's notoriously difficult entrance exams, which can determine their academic and professional futures. For many Japanese children, weekends and holidays don't offer a break from studying. Instead, they're spent attending even more classes, often at private institutes. The competition to get into the best schools, and later the best universities, starts as early as preschool. This relentless focus on academic achievement can create a highly stressful environment for both children and their parents, who often feel immense pressure to ensure their kids succeed. But the pressure doesn't stop there. Japanese society has a deep-rooted culture of discipline and perfectionism, which extends into family life. Parents are expected to raise their children with strict discipline, teaching them the importance of respect, hard work, and obedience from a very young age. This can sometimes lead to what's known as hikikomori, a phenomenon where young people withdraw from society due to the overwhelming pressures they face. Some children, unable to cope with the intense expectations placed on them, retreat into isolation for months or even years. Another shocking aspect of raising children in Japan is the phenomenon known as karoshi, or death by overwork. This doesn't just affect adults, but can also impact children indirectly. Parents, particularly fathers, often work incredibly long hours, sometimes to the point of exhaustion or worse. This work culture leaves little time for family bonding, and children may grow up in households where their fathers are largely absent. The limited family time can leave kids feeling disconnected from their parents, even as they're being pushed to achieve high academic success. At the same time, Japan's aging population and low birth rate have led to a growing concern about the future of the nation's workforce. This has created an environment where children are seen as crucial to the country's survival, further amplifying the pressure to succeed academically. In many ways, children in Japan carry the weight of the country's economic future on their shoulders, an overwhelming responsibility for any child. Despite all this, Japan is also known for being a very safe place to raise children. The country has an extremely low crime rate, and Japanese children are often seen walking to school alone from a very young age, a sight that would be alarming in many other countries. This sense of independence is encouraged, and children are taught from early on to be self-reliant, disciplined, and responsible. But for parents from other parts of the world, the high-pressure environment and intense focus on academic success in Japan might seem shocking or even concerning. The constant competition, the long hours, and the societal expectations placed on children can create a culture where failure is not an option, a reality that can take a toll on the mental health and well-being of both children and parents. If you're finding these insights into parenting practices around the world surprising, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video, and share in the comments which of these practices would shock you the most. Next on our list is China, a country where the legacy of the one-child policy and a hyper-competitive academic environment have shaped parenting practices in ways that might shock families from other parts of the world. For decades, China's government enforced strict population control measures, and while the one-child policy officially ended in 2016, its impact continues to influence family life to this day. Let's start with the one-child policy. Introduced in 1979, this policy limited most families to having just one child, which has led to a unique cultural phenomenon often referred to as the Little Emperor syndrome. Since many children grew up as only children, parents, and often grandparents, poured all of their resources, attention, and expectations into that one child. This has created a generation of children who are highly pampered, but also face immense pressure to succeed academically and professionally. For these children, failure isn't just personal. It feels like they're letting down their entire family. The pressure to succeed begins early. Much like Japan, China's education system is highly competitive, and children are pushed from a young age to excel in school. Parents often invest heavily in their children's education, enrolling them in after-school tutoring, weekend classes, and summer programs to give them an edge in the race to get into the best schools. The competition culminates in the Gaokao, China's infamous college entrance exam. This grueling high-stakes test is considered one of the toughest in the world, and the results can determine a student's entire future. The pressure surrounding the Gaokao is so intense that some students spend years preparing for it, with their entire family's hopes riding on their success. For parents in China, raising a child often feels like a race against time. They are constantly pushing their children to excel academically, believing that the only path to success is through relentless study and hard work. This competitive environment can be exhausting, not only for the children, but also for the parents, who feel an immense sense of responsibility to ensure their child's success. The phrase Wang Zi Cheng Long, which means hope for one's child to become a dragon, perfectly captures this mindset. Parents want their children to achieve greatness, often at the cost of childhood freedom and relaxation. But the high-pressure environment doesn't just affect children academically. It also shapes their social lives. In many parts of China, children are expected to behave with extreme discipline and respect toward adults. There's little tolerance for disobedience or rebellion, and children are often raised with strict rules about how they should behave at home, in school, and in public. This disciplined upbringing can create children who are highly respectful and obedient, but it can also limit their freedom to express themselves or make mistakes. Adding to the pressure is the changing demographic landscape in China. As the effects of the one-child policy continue to unfold, many families now face the 4-2-1 problem: 4 grandparents, 2 parents, and 1 child. This structure places an enormous amount of pressure on the single child to succeed, as they are often expected to support their aging parents and grandparents in the future. With fewer children to share these responsibilities, the burden on each child becomes even greater. Despite this intense environment, China is also known for having a deep sense of family loyalty and respect. Children are raised to honor their parents and take care of them in their old age, a value known as xiao. While the academic pressure may be overwhelming, family bonds remain strong, and parents see their sacrifices as a way to give their children the best possible future. For parents in other parts of the world, the high expectations and strict rules in Chinese families might seem shocking. The relentless drive for academic and professional success, combined with the heavy weight of family responsibilities, creates a unique and demanding environment for children and their parents. Next, we head to Saudi Arabia, a country where strict gender roles, religious practices, and social restrictions create a parenting environment that may seem completely foreign to families in the West. For parents raising children here, navigating these cultural norms can be complex, and for outsiders, it can be quite shocking. One of the most prominent aspects of family life in Saudi Arabia is the division between the roles of men and women. Gender segregation is deeply rooted in Saudi society, and this extends to almost every aspect of daily life, including how children are raised. Boys and girls are often raised with very different expectations and experiences. Boys are typically encouraged to be independent and are given more freedom from an early age, while girls are often more sheltered and expected to adhere to strict behavioral codes, particularly when it comes to modesty and interactions with the opposite gender. For many parents, raising daughters in Saudi Arabia involves teaching them from a young age to dress modestly and follow the rules of purdah, or female seclusion. Girls wear the abaya, a long black cloak, in public once they reach a certain age, and they often attend all-female schools, or are homeschooled, reinforcing the idea that men and women should remain separate in most areas of life. For many in the West, this level of gender segregation can be difficult to understand, but in Saudi Arabia, it's simply a part of everyday life. Another aspect of parenting in Saudi Arabia that might shock outsiders is the limited freedom given to women, including mothers. Although the country has made strides in recent years toward greater gender equality, like allowing women to drive in 2018, many restrictions still remain. For example, women still require the permission of a male guardian to travel abroad, marry, or sometimes even work. These restrictions can have a profound impact on family dynamics, particularly when it comes to decision-making and parenting responsibilities. Mothers may find themselves with limited autonomy, and raising children often involves navigating these legal and cultural barriers. Education in Saudi Arabia is also shaped by religious and social values. The country's education system is heavily influenced by Islamic teachings, with religious studies playing a central role in the curriculum. Children are taught from an early age about the importance of Islam and their duties as Muslims. While religious education is seen as vital to the upbringing of children, it may seem restrictive to those from countries where secular education is the norm. In Saudi Arabia, children are raised with a deep sense of religious identity, which shapes their worldview and daily practices. But perhaps one of the most surprising aspects of raising children in Saudi Arabia is the contrast between public and private life. In public, families follow strict rules of behavior, with children expected to adhere to societal norms that emphasize respect, modesty, and obedience. However, within the privacy of their homes, many Saudi families lead more relaxed lives. Children might have more freedom to play, watch TV, and engage in activities that would be frowned upon in public. This duality, where public life is governed by strict codes of conduct, but private life allows for more flexibility, can be difficult for outsiders to fully grasp. Raising a family in Saudi Arabia means navigating a complex web of cultural, religious, and legal expectations. The strict gender roles and limited freedoms for women might seem shocking to many, but for Saudi families, these practices are deeply ingrained in the social fabric. Despite recent reforms, the traditional values that have shaped Saudi society for generations continue to influence how children are raised. Our next stop takes us to North Korea, perhaps the most secretive and authoritarian country in the world. Parenting here is unlike anywhere else, as the government plays an extraordinarily heavy role in how children are raised. For families living under the North Korean regime, everyday life is defined by strict government control, and this extends into parenting and education in ways that would shock most outsiders. From the moment children are born in North Korea, they are subject to the strict rules of the state. Parenting is not just a private matter. It's also a tool for maintaining loyalty to the regime. Children are taught from an early age to revere their leaders, starting with Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea, and continuing through the current leader, Kim Jong-un. In fact, children are often indoctrinated to view the Kim family almost as gods, with their loyalty to the state taking precedence over even their loyalty to their own family. Education is one of the primary ways the North Korean government controls children and their families. School curriculums are heavily focused on the teachings of the regime, with history lessons glorifying the Kim family and demonizing the West, particularly the United States. Children are taught to believe that North Korea is under constant threat from outside forces, and that it's their duty to remain loyal and vigilant. Even subjects like math and science are infused with propaganda, reinforcing the idea that the regime is infallible. Beyond school, children participate in organizations like the Young Pioneers, where they are further indoctrinated into the regime's ideology. These groups teach children to be loyal to the state and prepare them to become future members of the ruling party. Attendance is mandatory, and parents have no choice but to send their children to these groups. For families, there's no such thing as homeschooling or alternative education. The state controls every aspect of a child's learning and development. The government's control over family life goes even deeper. In North Korea, families are often forced to spy on one another. Children are taught to report any signs of disloyalty, even within their own families. If a parent says something that could be perceived as critical of the regime, their child could report them to the authorities, resulting in punishment not just for the individual, but for their entire family. This creates a chilling environment of distrust, where parents must be constantly vigilant about what they say and do, even in their own homes. Another shocking aspect of parenting in North Korea is the concept of songbun, a system of social classification that affects every aspect of life, including a family's access to education, jobs, and housing. A family's songbun is determined by their perceived loyalty to the regime, and it can be passed down from generation to generation. This means that if a grandparent or parent is seen as disloyal to the regime, their children and grandchildren may suffer the consequences for years to come. This rigid system places immense pressure on parents to ensure that their children remain loyal and obedient to the state, as even the slightest hint of dissent can have devastating consequences for their entire family. Life in North Korea is incredibly harsh, and families live under constant surveillance. The regime controls every aspect of daily life, from where families live to how they behave in public. Even private moments, like family discussions or personal opinions, are not truly private. There is always the looming fear that someone, even a family member, could report disloyal behavior to the authorities. For most parents around the world, the idea that their child could be used as a tool of the state would be unthinkable. But in North Korea, this is the reality. The government's control over family life is total, and children grow up learning that their loyalty to the regime must come before all else, even their love for their own family. If you're shocked by the level of control in North Korea, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. What surprises you the most about life in these countries? Finally, we head to Finland, a country often considered one of the best places in the world to raise a family. But for parents who are used to more rigid educational systems or strict parenting styles, Finland's child-centric and progressive approach to family life might come as a shock, but in the best way possible. Finland's education system is one of the most celebrated in the world, but what makes it truly surprising is how relaxed and low pressure it is compared to other high-performing countries. For instance, children in Finland don't even start formal schooling until the age of 7, allowing them more time to play, explore, and enjoy their childhood without the burden of academic stress. Even when they do start school, Finnish children experience shorter school days, less homework, and minimal standardized testing. The emphasis isn't on rote memorization or competition, but on fostering creativity, critical thinking, and a love of learning. One of the core principles of Finnish education is equality. Every child, regardless of background or ability, has access to high-quality education. The Finnish government goes to great lengths to ensure that schools are well-funded and that children receive personalized support when needed. This means there's no pressure to attend elite private schools or enroll in endless tutoring sessions. Public schools are good enough for everyone. Parents from more competitive educational environments may find this surprising, especially given Finland's strong academic results in international rankings. But it's not just the education system that shocks outsiders. It's Finland's overall approach to parenting and family life. Finnish society places a high value on work-life balance, and this extends to parenting. Both mothers and fathers are encouraged to take parental leave, with generous government support allowing parents to spend ample time with their children. In fact, Finland offers one of the most extensive parental leave policies in the world, with both parents entitled to paid leave, allowing families to share childcare responsibilities more equally. This egalitarian approach to parenting means that fathers are much more involved in day-to-day childcare compared to many other countries. It's common to see dads pushing strollers, cooking meals, and spending time with their kids, thanks to Finland's strong emphasis on gender equality. For parents who come from cultures where traditional gender roles dominate, this level of involvement from both parents might be surprising. Another aspect of Finnish family life that shocks some is how much freedom and trust children are given. It's not uncommon to see children walking to school on their own, playing outside unsupervised, or even riding public transport alone from a young age. Finland has one of the lowest crime rates in the world, and this sense of safety allows parents to give their children a level of independence that might seem shocking to parents in countries where helicopter parenting is the norm. Finnish parents believe in giving children the freedom to explore and make their own decisions, which helps foster independence and confidence. Finnish culture also places a high priority on the well-being of children. The government provides universal health care, free education, including university, and various social services designed to support families. The famous baby box, a starter kit for new parents that includes clothing, bedding, and other essentials, has become a symbol of Finland's commitment to ensuring that every child has a healthy and happy start in life. This kind of state support is rare in many parts of the world. But in Finland, it's considered a normal part of raising a family. For parents from other countries, Finland's focus on balance, independence, and equality may seem almost utopian. The idea that children can grow up without intense academic pressure, that fathers are as involved in parenting as mothers, and that the government actively supports family life might seem too good to be true. But in Finland, this is the norm, and it's part of the reason why the country consistently ranks as one of the happiest places in the world. And that brings us to the end of our journey through the 5 most surprising countries for raising a family. From the intense academic pressures in Japan and China, to the strict social rules in Saudi Arabia, and the government control in North Korea. These countries showcase just how diverse parenting practices can be across the globe. And of course, Finland offers a breath of fresh air with its child-centered, progressive approach that prioritizes happiness and well-being. It's fascinating to see how different cultural norms and societal structures can shape the way families live and raise their children. In some places, the pressure on kids to succeed academically is immense, while in others, strict rules around gender roles and social behavior dominate family life. Meanwhile, in a country like Finland, we see a strong emphasis on freedom, equality, and well-being, giving children a completely different experience. The way families raise their children varies dramatically depending on where they live, and what's considered normal in one place can seem completely unimaginable in another. So, after hearing about these countries, which one surprised you the most? Could you see yourself raising your kids in a place with such intense pressures? Or would you prefer the more relaxed approach seen in Finland? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on what makes for the best environment for children to grow up in. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed learning about the surprising differences in family life around the world. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we release more videos exploring the fascinating and sometimes shocking aspects of life in other countries. Plus, sharing this video with your friends will spark some great discussions. Who knows, maybe they'll be just as shocked as you were. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope you'll stick around for more. Next time, we'll dive into another set of surprising and intriguing places around the world, places that challenge what we think we know about how people live and raise their families. Until then, stay curious, stay adventurous, and remember, no matter where you go, the love for our children is a universal language that we all share.